Hey everybody! Hey. Yeah, I booked this while I was in rehab. I was like, this is so painful. I measure everything by childbirth. Well, neck surgery kicked childbirth's ass. So, I had some things to learn. And I'm really happy to be here. Hey everybody! So I'm going to tell you a story about one day in my life that was so amazing, and it was one of those days when you wake up you go, wow, that saying, what a day? Well, this is what a day. And I'm going to start by telling you about two of my very dear friends. Am I close enough to the mic? Can you hear me? Yeah. So this one woman that I met, who I was in my 20s, her name was Deborah. And she came to a show of mine, and then she came up to me afterwards, and we started talking, and we just had this instant connect, this instant friendship. I think we were like two, I don't know, just black women who had a lot of confidence and, you know, knew we were doing stuff and out there ready to face the world with anything. And she was like pretty gorgeous in a very natural, just like she was like the shade of coffee when you put just enough milk in it, it just starts to change, that kind of mocha chocolate, right? Just beautiful. And she had this body that was just kind of lean and mean, little waist, and that black girl butt, you know what I'm talking about. The ones that people get injections for and wearing little fake shit for, she had that ass. And she was just, you know, healthy and athletic, and we just really vibed. Now, I have always been a big girl. I was not one of those women, I was a size 6 and then I had children, I got big. No. I've been around since I was 6 years old. Okay, so I've always had a big girl body, and I was very athletic as a kid. I was that fat kid who was out there, team captain for volleyball, kickball, foursquare, tetherball, whatever, right? I was out there moving my butt. Back in the day, you know, I was the kind of fat kid that got on my bike, and I came home when the street lights, you know, came on. So I've always been in my body and pretty happy with it. So she and I, when we went out in our 20s, we were a smorgasbord of black girl. Whatever kind you like, we kind of covered that, right? And we just loved going out with each other, dancing and just having a good time. And the men followed her. It was amazing. She would attract seriously professional football players. So like, how does she do that? Like, I mean, and like real ones, not even fake dudes. I would come out of my room and there would be 3 men sitting in my living room. Oh my God. Right? Biggest, finest men you ever want to see. And they would give us tickets to their games at Candlestick Park. And I'm talking like right behind, you know, where they're sitting and everything. And we didn't even care about the football. We would be getting cute and everything, and we would come in late, and people would be like, wow, right? We had a great time as young women. And she decided a few things. She took a Vidal Sassoon class and asked me to be her hair model because I had some hella hair. Because my mom did not let me straighten my hair as a kid. She's like, we are not straightening our hair. White people say our hair is straight. It's not. It's nappy. We're not doing that. So I always had goo gobs of hair. All my friends with perms, their shit was falling out. Mine was my natural was Angela Davis. I was like, right? So she said, your hair is great. Can I use yours as a model? I said, sure. So, you know, she's going to class, and every other week, I would walk out of my house and my neighbors would be like, whoa, right? It's some fabulous hairdo I would have. And so we just vibed great. And then she decided she wanted to be a cop because she didn't like the way black people were treated by cops. And there was one way to get in there and change that shit. I'm like, really? She's like, yeah. So she went into the police academy. And as her roommate then, we moved into a great place in San Francisco in Glen Park. And she would come home from hard days, and, you know, I'd run a bath for her, and she would be so sore, and she would tell me all the stuff they did, and, you know, at one point they had hit each other with the sticks, so they understood what they were doing when they hit people, and she was just sore, and I mean, I watched her go through this, and I was like, why? But she was genuine about wanting to change things. Well, to make a long story short, blah, 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 she, if you believe that, She ended up being the first black woman undercover cop on San Francisco Muni buses. Yes, she did. And this is back when the crimes on Muni were not, they weren't meth-filled crimes that people stabbed. They were crimes of stealing purses and, taking people's groceries and knocking people down. And it was still disrespect, believe me. But she was on there, and no one ever looked at her and suspected she was a cop. You talk about undercover, she was for real undercover. Well, she starts busting people, and she's starting to get a rep. And this one Saturday afternoon, we were on our way to like some festival, and we got on our little dresses. I'm on a big dress, she got her little dress. And we were walking down the street, and this brother, "Hey, baby, what's up? Look, you looking good." And this brother called, "Hey, man, man, she a cop." He's like, "Come on, man." No, man, for real, she a real cop." And he's like, "Man, shut up." And she's like, "Come on, baby, what you got for me?" And she put on her badge. She's like, "Oh, shit." She's a real cop, right? So she started to make her mark in the police academy, the police department. And then she decided she wanted to do be a forensic person in the cop. And I was like, oh my God, right? And I'm acting, I'm doing improv, I'm working with Robin Williams and all these amazing people, having just this fantastic improv experience, just really loving my life, right? And working at a big girl's clothing shop, and my wardrobe was banging. I'm just like, yeah, right? And she is diagnosed with lupus. Yeah. And so she had to quit the force. And you would think, gee, life bum, right? She just started doing other things. She kept working out, and she dealt with all the things you have to deal with lupus, which is really a lot. And she just kind of kept on living positive and being beautiful. And she met the love of her life. She met her husband, Buzz. And he was just this terrific man. He was military based, and, which was kind of good because, the discipline it takes to be a cop. They kind of vibed on that level. And he vowed to take care of my friend forever. And we had a great relationship. I was like, yeah, she's found her man. I found the love of my life in my early 30s, and we settled into, a really great marriage, and they knew each other, and it was just like a good time. Then she moved here to Sacramento. So we didn't get to see each other as much. We were always on the phone, and, she's that people that call, and, you pick up no matter what, right? And so this is my girlfriend, Deborah, and our lives together had always been wonderful. Now I want to tell you about another friend of mine that I met during my 30s when Deborah had moved up here. And this woman was named Amy, and she worked at the Other Cafe in San Francisco. And that's where my stand-up career started. I'd only been doing improv before. And so I had started a stand-up career. I was really enjoying it. She was working at the club, and she later became my manager, and things were just going good. It was pretty awesome. And then I got the Pine Sol commercials. Come on. Right? Like all those years, 1993, they're looking for a spokesperson, and, it was a time when people were willing to look for somebody real in commercials. Like, not a white woman in a gown pointed to her polished floor. She didn't mop that floor. She didn't, right? But me, I look like I might have mopped that floor, right? And then I might have my kids mop that floor. And so my career was just really going great, and I was on television every day and pulling down, bucks and able to buy a house in San Francisco and raise my kids. I always wanted to do that because I loved going out there. So Amy and I formed this relationship that is just so good. She's very adventurous. She's a woman who's adopted, so she's just always out there looking for stuff. I don't know what that means, but it's true. And so she's like the most adventurous person that I know, right? And exactly 15 years ago, on March 14th, which is her birthday, she turned 40. And so I said, girl, I'm going to come down. She had planned a dinner in L.A. at this restaurant called Frau Fall, and she was so excited. And I said, we'll come down. I said, let's go to the mall, the Galleria, right? And I was going to get her a couple little things. We're just going to have a girl day before we go to the dinner. So she picks me up at the Burbank Airport, best kept little secret. And, right? And she picks me up, yeah, baby. She picks up, we're in the car, we're laughing and talking. And she, I said, what are you up to? She says, well, I'm going on a vision quest. And like a vision quest. What is that? Right? Just, well, you know, it's where you find your higher power. I'm going out into the woods, and I'm going to draw a circle around myself, and you know, spend the night there, and just receive all my power. I was like, white people. I was like, girl, are you serious? She was like, yeah. I said, okay, look. I said, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to speak at your funeral. I am. I'm going to tell them how fabulous you were, what a strong woman you were, how inspirational you were, and adventurous and all that. Because what if the bear don't know about the circle? What if the mountain lion don't give a damn that you got a circle around here? I'm like, are there any other people around? Do they have tents? What the fuck? Right? And she's like, no, there's people, but they're, you know, you give your own space. I said, girl, you really, are you going to go out in the woods and put a circle around yourself for real? And she goes, yeah. And I was like, fuck, okay. All right. So we get to the Galleria, and we're having this great day. We're walking around, getting little stuff to, you know, nibble on, and I see the Max makeup store. Now, my friend Amy wears no makeup whatsoever, not even lipstick. She don't give a damn about that. That is not her thing. But I got to go into the Max store because I'm looking for this color of lipstick called Ooh Baby. So I said, oh, I got to go to the Max store. So she says, okay. So I go in, and I'm looking around. Now I'm in heaven a little bit, right? And I just didn't start wearing makeup until I was an older woman because I was raised by this lesbian feminist woman who told me, don't gild the lily, you're gorgeous. I'm like, but Mom, I'm on stage. I need makeup, right? So I'm in the makeup store, and I'm trying to look at all this different stuff. And I know I'm taking a little longer than Amy wants. So I don't see her for a minute, but that's okay. So then I'm finally at the counter to pay, and she comes up next to me, and she's leaning into me really hard. I'm like, okay, Amy, I'm paying. But that was her passing out. She hits my titty, and then she hits the hard counter, and then she's out on the floor. Eyes open. I'm like, oh my God! I'm like, I am never going to talk about anybody's funeral ever again. Right? And I'm like, you know, people are panicking. I'm like, call 911 right now. I'm like, Amy. I am just freaking the hell out. It's her birthday. She's laying on the floor of the Max store with her eye out. And I'm just like, so, I can't believe it. So we're in a mall, so of course the paramedics show up really fast, right? And in walks 3 guys that go over to her, and they're, you know, feeling they're doing whatever. And she wakes up, and she's like, you know, what happened? I said, girl, you passed out. And in comes, I guess, the main paramedic, and he's this big, fine brother. This man is so fine, it's ridiculous. You know how paramedics, firemen, you're like, damn, right? Well, he was damn. And he comes over to her, and he looks up, he sees me, he goes, oh my God. Pansole. And I'm like, yeah, he goes, I told my buddy that if I ever met you, I was going to ask you to marry me. I love you. And my friend Amy goes, hey, a little help here? Right, he goes, okay. So he goes and he tends to her, and I'm like, this is so weird, right? And so he's tending to her, and he finally gets her to a stable position, you know, and everything. And now he's back home, and he's like, look, he goes, are you married? I go, I am. I'm happily married. He goes, oh, baby, I can make you so happy. You know, and I'm like, dude, I'm happy, right? And I can't believe the level that he is on, right? He's like, but there's so many things I just want to tell you, that I just believe in you, and I'm so proud of you. And I see you on TV, and I'm like just so happy that you're out there representing for everybody. I'm like, thank you, right? But I'm more, my friend's on the floor, right? So they get her to a point where they're going to take her to the ambulance, and she's dehydrated. They're going to give her fluids and all this and everything. And so I'm like, yeah, bro, I thank you, I love you, but I'm out, right? So I go to the garage, and I get in her car. I'm going to meet them at the hospital, which is right across the street, basically. And so I get there way before them because it takes forever as they, you know, work on her. We get to the hospital, and we're out in the hallway for a long time, and they finally get her a room. And they got the IV in her, and she's starting to, you know, get some color back. And I said, do you want me to start calling people and cancel the dinner? She goes, I'm not canceling my dinner. I said, for real, Amy? Because you're in the hospital. Right? And she goes, I'm not canceling my dinner. And I was like, oh my God, that's my friend Amy, right? Lord have mercy. So she does not cancel the dinner. She gets her little IV and she's starting to feel better. And now we got about an hour and a half before dinner. And so we head that way. And all day long, Deborah has been calling me, right? So, but I didn't want to pick up because I'm here with my girl Amy. And if I get on the phone with Deborah, it ain't no stopping us, right? It's like, so I don't call her back. She called me in the morning and she called me a little bit late in the afternoon. So I was like, ah. So we get to the restaurant and now there's about half an hour left. And people are starting to arrive, so I decided I should go out in the car and call Deborah back. Just let her know I'm in LA and, you know, what I'm doing, right? So I go to the car, I'm sitting in Amy's driver's seat, and I get my phone out, and I call Deborah back. And she's weeping, screaming, crying. I'm like, what? What happened? She said, Diane, Buzz fell asleep at the wheel and crashed, and he's dead. This happens every time I tell this story. And I was so devastated for her. And I was also devastated because I was too far away. If I was in San Francisco, I'd be in my car, I'd be up here about an hour, 15 minutes, right? But I was so far away. And so I told her, oh my God, Deborah, I can't get to you. She was like, no, I'm Diane, I'm just, so we have that conversation. And there's nothing I can do about this situation, but I'm just heartbroken. Because I know one thing about Buzz. He wanted to live and take care of Deborah. And he didn't get to do that. So I'm sitting there, and now I'm supposed to go back in here to this dinner party, birthday party, and I'm just undone. So I pull the mirror down, I look at it, and I say, you are an actress. So you gotta go in there and act like you having fun. Because this is your girl Amy's birthday, and that's why you're here. So I pull it all together, and I redo my lipstick, wipe off my mascara, I get my gift that I had gotten for Amy out of the back of the car, and I go in. And her guests are there, and she's such a fun person. People are having such great stories about her, and we're just enjoying the day, and the food is really good, and I can eat when I'm stressed, so fuck it, I'm eating, right? Yeah, for real, though. And we're having this great meal, and people are telling fabulous stories. I swear she's telling the story about falling out in the mall, and, you know, how the guy who was hitting on me, and how she didn't want to cancel dinner, and everyone was like, oh my God, Amy, right? So it's quite an evening. And at the end, we have this great cake, and we sing the song, and we do all that, right? And then I get a cab and go to my hotel. And when I get there, I call my husband and fall completely apart. I was absolutely hysterical. And he's like, baby, and I'm hysterical, right? And he came, he goes, okay, he goes, are you okay? Yes. Is Amy okay? Yes. Did anybody die? Yes. Who died? I'm gone again, right? So it takes him literally 20 minutes, maybe a little longer, just to calm me down enough to tell him what happened. Because that whole day had just fallen on me and I was just undone. And so he finally talks me down. I get to sleep. I just go to bed. I figure this day has got to fucking be over. Yeah. You know, and the end of the day is done, all the sun, right? And so I go to sleep. And I wake up the next morning and realize what a day I had had. And it's a tribute to both of these friends because my heart was where it should be with my friend Amy, and my heart was with my friend Deborah. And I knew that that was a day I would never forget, but I was so happy for all the feelings that came to make to that day. And the soundtrack to that story is this. Hit it, Dylan. And pain is like sunshine and rain. My friend Amy and I, we still talk about it. She tells this story too, and her story is completely different than mine. Oh yeah, and we plan to do that story together someday. and maybe it might even be here. Thank you.